Because we discover yourself, the game of life, right? Okay, so I'll just take your 5 minutes and share or summarize the study session. Okay, we saw the difference between human versus animals, and then we went out searching where we get happiness or what all of us are looking for, and we saw various examples of how different people are finding happiness in different things, in fashion, in daredevil acts, sports, intoxication parties, but they are not satisfied. Although they are advancing in all those things, but they are not satisfied because they are all acting on the platform on which animals are acting, or because they are doing the same activities which animals are doing. For example, they are eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. So these four activities are common between animals as well as humans. Okay, we saw this. And in fact, in some of the activities, animals are performing better than humans. So we came to the conclusion that our human body is not meant for working, or say, our human body is not meant for doing activities which animals are meant to do. Okay, we saw in the activity how eagle has sharp focus, how dogs can produce dozens of children, whereas humans can only give birth to a single child within a year. How horse can run faster, how elephant can eat more grass than how polar bear can sleep for a longer time. So all of these animals are in somewhat better than us in eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. But that is not what we are meant to do. Okay, we have some higher purpose in our life, and because we have been given intelligence to think or to question about various things happening in our life, we should do those things rather than indulging in this temporary activity, because this will not give you happiness. And we saw how people are depressed nowadays, stressed out due to their so-called busy schedule, and we saw how these things are leading us to even worse life than animals, right? We discussed a sloka from Mahabharata, and then these are the questions we should inquire about, and this will be answered in our sessions. Okay, we saw divine versus demonic qualities. We took examples how divine qualities lead us to the higher path, and the demonic quality degrades us. Then we discussed some tips about life and to maintain or say have a positive perspective in your life. Then we discuss how to control our mind and some things about that. And then we discussed the three modes of material nature: the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, sattva guna, tamo guna, or and rajoguna. And we saw how people behave, or people are people who are in mode of ignorance, or all those three modes, how they behave and how they act. All those things we saw in detail yesterday, and we discussed this story and tried to analyze the person who was in mode of goodness, passion, and or ignorance. How would he or she would have act to this story? Okay. Then we saw how a noble leader who is a sattvic leader, or say rajasic leader followed by sattva or say rajoguna guided by sattva leads us to a noble leader. We discuss example of Arjuna guided by Krishna. We discuss about Shivaji Maharaj guided by Tukaram Maharaj, and Chandragupta Maurya guided by Chanakya Pandit. So like that, okay. And we saw how to boost our mode of goodness with ABCDE, which is association, books, chanting, diet, and the environment in which we are studying. We discussed some studies here, and then we skipped this part, and we saw this video. Okay, what are the benefits of waking up early in the morning? We discussed about this as well. And to then now we are supposed to start from here, the 5S formula. So next 5 sessions we are going to discuss this 5S formula. So the first is, or say in today's session, we are going to discuss about soul. Soul means who am I, our real identity. Okay, we are not this body, we are soul. Now, as to explain this in short, we'll take an example of car. Now, in car, when we have a driver, then only car runs. But when we don't have a driver, car cannot run. Similarly, in our body, when we or say soul is present, only then a body can function. If it is not, the body cannot function. This is how it works. We have a soul, imperishable soul, whereas a super soul in our body. So once we know our true identity, managing our senses, mind, habits, attitude, and behavior will be very easy. We discussed it in the example of chariot and the five senses representing the five horses, and the rope representing mind, and intelligence, who is a charioteer holding the ropes. So we to strengthen our intelligence, we should have more positive inputs like we are having right now. Then second is discuss which is supreme. We'll discuss now we discussed about soul. Now what is supreme? Just like I am an operator of bodily car, who is an operator of this big bang or big cosmic manifestation. Now, Einstein believes, I believe in an intelligent designer. If I met God, I will ask, how do you create a universe? Okay, this was his statement. In third session, we'll discuss about scriptures. What are the scriptures? There are various kind of scriptures, and every scriptures are meant for elevating the consciousness of human or say living entity, and not for degrading oneself through sinful acts, or say the acts which are humans are not supposed to do. Okay, and then we have solutions. What are the problems we faced in our life, and what are the solutions to it? And will discuss about how sound vibration helps in spiritual advancement. And this was about the summary. Now I'll reshare about of our first session today. We had a basic interview or overview of all our sessions yesterday, and we had set a ground to move ahead with that. Okay, just one second. I'll share once again. Any doubt in yesterday's session? No doubt, right? Okay, we'll move ahead. Maybe Trisha can take attendance and just take a note of who all are attending, so that it will help us to provide certificate to them.
Yes, Bhaiya, sure, sure.
Okay.
Bhaiya, I took a screenshot of participants. Is it enough, right?
Yeah, it's enough. Maybe some more will join in some time.
Yeah.
You just can't you just go on noting down their name.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so this is our first session today. Discover inner self, or say we'll discuss more about science of self-realization or science of soul and reincarnation, as we have stated in our topic list. This is the second topic we are going to discuss today. So welcome you all. Wait one second, I'm not able to see. Okay, the inner introduction. Now, let us hear from you guys what you feel or what you know about soul. Yeah, anyone? You can unmute or you can answer in chat. What are the things when you hear about soul or atma in Hindi? What is the first thing that comes to your mind? Anyone? Give it a try. No problem if you go wrong or anything. Fine. So I think this is a new concept for you guys. So I'll explain accordingly. Okay. Okay. The one which is cause of life. Yeah, correct. Which is the I am the soul. Yes. So our real identity is that we are soul, or we are part and parcel of Lord. This. Okay. Now that's what we are going to see in today's session. We'll prove that scientifically, or say we prove that using our logical analysis. So now many of the atheistic people believe that we are just eat, drink, and be merry, and then fine, your life is over, and then you'll die, and yeah, that's it. There is no life after death, and you enjoy to your fullest in this life, and yeah, die. So that is animalistic thinking, basically. Okay. When we don't have any goal in our life, we are simply going so for I explained in that session as well, how, for example, a person sitting in a car going is following all the rules and regulations, all traffic lights. He'll stop on red, start on green. But when we ask, where are you going? I don't know. I'm on the process. Wherever I go, I'll enjoy. So he doesn't have any goal in his life. Okay. Now moving further, this is we discuss this example as a driver drives a car, soul drives a living body. So we'll provide scientific proofs about this. Now, the knowledge of relationship between soul, matter, and God can bring a great positive change in your life. Okay. For example, before Arjuna was lamenting, Arjuna was morose. So he was like a CEO in the whole battle. But uh, at the final moment, just before, say, for example, in cricket, we are playing, and the bowler who has a last over to ball, and so, for example, we required 10 runs in 6 balls, last over, okay. But the bowler refuses to fight. So this was bowler refuses to ball. In the same way, Arjuna refuses to fight at the last moment, and then he turns towards Krishna because he was hopeless and asks, what should I do? Then Krishna guides him the knowledge of souls, and he emerged confident. So okay, we saw this in the sloka in Bhagavad Gita where Arjuna says, "My whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on the end, my bow, Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning." And then he finally surrenders in we see in Bhagavad Gita sloka 2.7, Karpanya dosha pahata subhava. Okay, before Arjuna was lacking confidence, and then after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he emerged victorious. In the same way, we are also in our this life is like an exam. Okay, and now Bhagavad Gita, how Bhagavad Gita and knowledge of soul will help us, that we'll see. And Bhagavad Gita is you can say, the most commented book. Politicians like Radha Krishna, Gandhiji has commented on it. Even Einstein has Oppenheimer, we saw in the movie, he commented on the Bhagavad Gita. And Shankaracharya says the only book you should follow if you want to get all the conclusions of Vedic literature is the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so he heard the knowledge of soul from Lord Krishna himself. Now, what we are going to discuss in today's session is, am I matter or am I spirit? Okay, this was first one. So because knowing that Jada and Chetan, the matter Jada and Chetan, the spirit, the difference between them, knowing itself is a kind of bliss for us, because it relieves us from the stress of these bodily relations and bodily comforts. Just like ant is alive and rock is dead, so in the same way, matter is dead and spirit is alive. Then we'll see scientific proofs for the existence of soul. Then difference between living entity and robots, and then mechanism of mind and practical benefits of knowing the knowledge of soul in our daily life. Okay, let's start with the first one. Am I matter or am I spirit? Who are you? The question is for you. Now, many of you might be knowing we are all souls, but when we are beginner in the spirituality, or when we are inquisitive, or when we just start to know about ourselves, we don't know we are soul. But slowly and gradually, when we are advancing in the path, we come to know that we are at least some different entity from this body. Because when we die, the body stays here, we are not there. But the only difference between a dead person or a dead body and the body which is there alive is the presence of soul. When the soul leaves the body has no life. Okay, this is what some great scientists like Dr. Harry Monson has said. Mo- uh, Actually, according to him, this body is made up of sorry, he has proved that most of the human body is water. Okay, so in 60-pound person there are about this many chemicals. Okay, five pounds of calcium, 1.5 pounds of phosphate, 9 ounces of potassium, 6 ounces of each of sulfur and sodium, 1 ounce of magnesium, and less than one ounce of each of iron, copper, and iodine. Now he said, when we mix all these elements, the cost of these elements is just 110 rupees. So does that sound like you? Like, is it even making any sense that our body is just a cost of 110 rupees? Ask yourself. Now, if there is an accident, for example, Mercedes Benz, your friend is in Mercedes Benz and he's driving. Now there happened to be an accident. Now whom you will save? The body, which is just of 110 rupees, or the Mercedes Benz? And what makes that body important? What do you feel, guys? You save the body, obviously, right? So our body has something which is more valuable than the lakhs of 30, 40 lakhs Benz cars. Okay, we discussed this. See, all the things in this material world are temporary, or they are changing. Or say the only thing in this material world, the only constant thing is in this material world is change. Everything is changing, and that change is actually the cause of our fear. Why fear develops? Because we fear that the changes happening, we cannot we will not be able to tolerate the changes been happening today. So, for example, some of us are alive today, maybe tomorrow will not, or will have a different body, a living beauty, whereas after death, the chemicals are same, but we have no feelings, no thinking, no desire, no movement, no consciousness. There's something missing, and the missing element is soul. So Shankaracharya says, when one is alive, his family members inquire kindly about his welfare, but when soul departs, even his wife or his husband runs away from the dead body. So only until soul is there in the body, everyone, the body is attractive to other living entities. Okay. Now after death, we all know how they decorate, and then the final right of our this body is just death, or say we have to finally leave this body. All right, moving ahead. Now there is a very famous sloka in Bhagavad Gita, 2.20. I'll just recite it. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन्न्यायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूय अजो नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Now the translation goes as follows. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Now, what happens here is, if soul never dies, there is one more shloka which comes as Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavakaha, Na Chainam Kledayam Vyapo, Na Soshati Maruta. The soul cannot be cut by weapon, soul cannot be dried up by fire, soul cannot be withered by water. Soul is ever existing, eternal. But what happens is, like we saw here in the animation, the soul changes from one body to another body. Like we change our the old dress we throw away and we wear a new dress. In the same way, the soul in our body, when the body gets old, or when the body is incapable to hold the soul, then the soul decides to change the body according to what desire it has at the moment, at the last time, or at the time of our death. Okay. the so the difference between body and soul is, body is matter, soul is spirit. Body is not conscious, soul is conscious. Body is ever changing, soul is eternal. It does not changes. It was part and parcel of Lord. It is part and parcel of Lord, and it will continue to remain part and parcel of Lord. It is not that soul will get merged into Lord sometime in future. Okay. Now this body is temporary, whereas we as a soul, we are eternal. This body is dead and we are alive. Now just think, if you see in yourself in the mirror, what do you see? You just see your externals, right? But after hearing this session, the perspective of your vision will change. You're not just this body, what you see externally. Your atma, the real driver of the body. All right, you are sitting, you are a driver of your own car, or say car like body. Now this material viewpoint, that we are this body made up of matter, we are no more than a chemical bundles, and everything is finished at the time of death. As I said, many materialistic people claims this. So they say enjoy, eat, drink, be merry, and all those things. Okay, but from spiritual point of view, when we see that we are not the material body of flesh and bones. We are spirit souls encaged in this material body, and we do not die when material body stops to function, but we change our body. So it is just like a cycle. When we become old, we throw away the old body and we take to some new body. When that body gets old, we go on to the next body, and the process continues. Okay, the body changing but the soul remains same. So you might have heard, or you might have witnessed that whenever a death of some relative happens, there is a shraddha. In India it happens. So there is, on the 10th day, we call it Davva in Marathi, or whatever it is in the regional language. On 10th day or 13th day, there are some spiritual personality who comes and speak about body and says that this body, your relative, or the relative has left this body. He hasn't died, he's living somewhere in another body. So by this knowledge, one gets an opportunity to not get missed out, or say not get depressed on the departure of some close one. Okay, so this is one of the benefit of hearing the knowledge of souls. Now, just like as the bird is trapped in the cage, the soul is trapped in this body made up of five materials. Pancha Mahabhut we call: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Agni, Jal, Akash, whatever it is. Okay. Now, not knowing their real identity as a soul, the people spend their life in polishing the cage, pampering the body without feeding the soul. Can you say how? Any example how people are just caring about their body without thinking of soul, or without feeding their soul? Any example? We see, right, when we drive, we saw the example of car, how car is different from a human being. Sorry, a car is different from driver. So the food for car, we are providing the food for car, but if you don't provide food for driver, the driver will starve away and he'll drive eventually. Okay, or he'll get weaken up and he'll not be able to control his car. So the food for car is petrol, but the food for the driver is different from the food for car. Similarly, the food for soul is different from the food for our body. Okay. Now let's move on to some scientific proof for existence of the spirit soul, and we'll divide this into three aspects. First, we'll see through common sense how spirit soul exists. Then we'll see through consciousness. Then we'll portray some near-death experiences, research done on that, out-of-body experiences, and then we'll study reincarnation research. Okay. Now, there is common sense when we say when a person dies, we say he or she has passed away. Now, what has passed away? Who has passed away? The body is still there, right? Who has passed away?
Soul left the body.
Yeah, exactly. The soul has passed away. The body is still there, the chemicals are still there, the brain is still there, but soul, along with the subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, ego, the vasanas that we carry from our previous life, passed on to the next life as well. Okay. Now, second reason here maybe we can say that now when we observe this road, we can see or we can feel the beauty of this, but the dead matter, a camera or a robot can just say that I see only red light and all those things. Now consciousness makes us feel better or makes us aware of the situation way more better than the dead matter. Okay, same is true for the AI technologies right now present. Now, the near-death experiences, if you just Google it, you'll get a lot of researches. Actually, there are hundreds of books being printed. I have personally gone through one of the near-death experience book, which was of a man from Israel who got some disease when he visited USA, and when he was hospitalized over there, he personally had a near-death experience, and he shared his all his experience in his book. And there are similarly multiple books. In one book, even the man who was blind for his entire life, when he was being operated and anesthesia was being given, he left his body. And what happened was he went out of his body. The surgeons were operating him. He was so whenever a person is being given anesthesia, so he or she will not be in consciousness to hear what is going on in his surrounding. But he was hearing what the doctors are being chit chatting while doing the surgery. Then he went further ahead, and he went through the wall. He saw the pipe is being lit in the inside the ceiling floors. Okay. Then he went ahead, and after when his surgery was completed and he came to his consciousness, he told the entire incident to the doctors, and the doctors were shocked. They said it's impossible. And because he was a blind man, he cannot see. But he when he went out of his body, he by the experience of soul he was able to see. And he when they checked the pipe leakage in the ceiling, there wasn't leakage in the pipe. There was then they had a book printed over him. So these are near death experiences. When someone face a suppose a terrible accident, and when he's admitted in the hospital, when he's about to leave body in such a state, soul goes out of body and sees when we see that brain waves has got flattened, but the soul is hearing. Lot of researches has been done in this body. And similarly, there are out of body experiences as well. Now see, 11 to 14% of average American population who are mentally and physically healthy have had observed out of body experience. Okay, this is the journal published. Now there are enough researches. These are the books, you can read any one of them. Just give it a try. Maybe it will help you to increase faith in soul. Now, there is one very prominent scientist who has done a lot of research in reincarnation case studies. His name is Ian Stevenson. Now, he has done investigation over 3,000 cases of reincarnation. Reincarnation basically means in Hindi Punarjanma, rebirth of a person. Suppose we saw in the movie how Karan Arjun was reborn. So in something similar kind of things, there are thousands of research cases have been caught, and we'll discuss two of them today. And there are again hundreds of books over this reincarnation. People recollecting the memories from their previous lives. You can again go through one of these books. Okay. Now the phobias. We had an Instagram post over this the reincarnation thing. The phobias comes from our past life. Now, for example, what can be the phobia? Someone can have phobia of water. So if in the previous life one ended drowning, so there is naturally phobia of water in us in this life. Okay, some has phobia of bladed weapon. So in previous life, if he has been ended his life stabbing, then or say slaughtered in some slaughterhouse, then he or she would have a phobia of a bladed weapon. Someone have phobia of firearms, so shooting we saw. And one more thing, when we see twins, now there is difference between temperament of the twins. Now this also is very important or crucial in proving the existence of soul. Now twins, they externally the body looks exactly same, but what makes difference between them is the subtle body and the soul within them. And soul has the different kind of subtle bodies, so that's why they have different temperaments. We'll just go through. Even though identical twins are physically born by the splitting of a single egg from the same genetic material, they have striking contrast in temperament. The difference in temperaments is because of two different souls reincarnated in two different bodies that are genetically identical. Even though they are genetically identical, the main difference between those two bodies is the presence of soul in those body. Okay, now we'll just go through a first case study here, the soul survivor. There is a book over here, the reincarnation of World War II, the fighter pilot. Okay, we'll just see this video.
They have the same name and boyish good looks. James M. Houston, raised in the Midwest. James M. Leininger, a young boy from the Bayou.
Whoa! There's something in the eyes. It's undeniable.
That's not all they share.
Somehow James Houston's spirit has affected my son, either through reincarnation. I don't know how it happened.
I can read the Japanese easy as pie.
Initially, what caught my attention was James's extreme fascination with airplanes.
And every night he slept with his G.I. Joe action figures, which he named.
I took him to the Kavanaugh Flight Museum.
Here's home video. While the other kids casually look at the plane, 2-year-old James seems to inspect it. Watch as he checks the underbelly, then climbs inside, donning the headset.
The pilot put him on?
I said, oh, look, there's a bomb on the bottom. He said, that's not a bomb, that's a drop tank.
Bouncing about in the cockpit, James was flying high. That night, their world would change forever.
He started having the nightmares, and that was my first indication that there was something wrong. It was a panic-stricken, terrorized screaming.
Over and over again, James had the same terrible nightmare, 4 to 5 times a week. He was too young to explain the dream, but he could draw.
Bombing ships, you see men parachuting. Here's another one where planes are dropping bombs.
Help me.
He would just be crying. He'd say, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. He laid on his back and kicked up at the ceiling, and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid on his back and kicked his feet up. The little man's going, ooh, 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 can't get out. And I said, well, who's the little man, baby? And he goes, me. I thought Bruce and I were just going to faint.
They questioned, what kind of plane?
Corsair.
Why did your airplane crash?
My plane was shot down.
Who shot your plane?
He looked at me like I was a village idiot. He said,
The Japanese. I kept thinking, where is he getting this? I was a stay-at-home mom, so I know that there wasn't anything that he was being exposed to.
Not exposed to in this life, but perhaps, just maybe, somebody else was. Decades earlier, James Houston grew up with the same insatiable fascination with airplanes. He became a naval fighter pilot and fought in World War II. March 3rd, 1945, during a mission near Iwo Jima, he took a direct hit. At age 21, was declared missing and presumed dead.
where did he take off from a boat?
Do you remember the name of your boat? He said, Natoma.
found several thousand hits on the word Natoma.
The USS Natoma Bay launched into battle headed for Iwo Jima in the fight for Leyte Gulf.
It's the biggest naval battle in the history of the world.
Leo Pyatt served on the ship. From his home in Ohio, he organizes the Natoma Bay reunions. That's how Bruce found him.
I wanted to disprove it.
He asked a few questions about, did I know some of the people? Oh, yeah, I remember those people. And so he got very quiet.
It was all real. The people and places James described actually existed. And remember those G.I. Joe dolls that James named? Turns out 3 men with the same names, first and last, served on the Natoma and were killed in action. James said they greeted him in heaven after his crash.
I'd always asked him, do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. But his name is James.
Yes, there was a Jim Houston, a rather large shell. Just hit him in the engine, and it burst into flames and went down.
They showed Leo the drawings.
He was right on the nose. I'm sure, in my mind, that he was there.
Leo invited James, now 3, to the reunion. James recognized several pilots, even called them by name.
You're Bob Greenwald. I'm serious.
And he'd never met Bob Greenwald.
No, he'd never met him before.
And someone else was invited. James Houston's sister, Anne.
And he goes, it's not Anne, it's Annie. She wasn't my oldest sister. I had an older sister than that. And I said, you did? Who was that? And he goes, Ruth. I mean Ruth.
Eddie is what they called me when I was little, knowing my name and my sister's name, things that my brother did when he was a kid. It's too amazing to describe how he would feel that way, but he does. He considers me his sister.
But does she consider James her brother?
I think it's probably a reincarnation of my brother.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.
Yeah. So as we saw how he remembered his past life, there goes a similar story here. We'll discuss another case
They have
study.
the same.
Okay, so this is the case study of again one of the 3,000 case studies done by Dr. Ian Stevenson. So this is about Shukla Gupta. She remembered her past life. Now, what her story is, when she was just half or 6 months old, she used to take a pillow kind of something and used to like a cradle in her hand, like young Indian mothers does to their child. So, and he used to call that pillow as Minu, Minu. Then people were confused, like how could she speak so early and how could she perform such activities so early? And then slowly and gradually, when she grew older, she started recalling her previous life. Okay, we had, yeah. When Shukla was little more than 5, Shri Sen Gupta and 5 other members of his family journeyed with her to Bhatpara. So it is a village in West Bengal. When they arrived, Shukla took a lead. Avoiding various possible wrong turns, she brought them straight to the house of Shri Amrit Lal Chakravarti, allegedly her father-in-law in her previous life. Now, Shukla was able to recognize, even though she was just a 5 or 3 year kid, she was able to recognize her previous house without any wrong turns. Her mother-in-law, brother-in-law, husband, and daughter, and even the names of her brother, her husband. When she saw her husband, she was feeling little shy, like wives in young wives in India feel shy and they don't take name of their husband. Similarly, even she didn't took name of her husband. Okay. Now she indicated towards Sri Haridhan Chakravarti as her husband, and the nicknames as well as the real names of her brother-in-laws. She was able to recall all those things. Now this is very prominent story. You will find many videos on YouTube. You just go and search out and explore these things. Okay. Now we'll see the scientific perspective or what scientists used to believe on reincarnation. Now this is Benjamin Franklin. He says, finding myself to exist in the world, I believe I shall in some shape or other always exist. Okay, now this is John Adam. Those souls who revolt against God were placed here to transmigrate through various species of animal, birds, and reptiles, etc. Now, this is the exact statement or exact verse comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Then there is Socrates who says, I am confident that there truly is such a thing as living again and living spring from the dead. Okay, with this, we have at least come to the conclusion that soul exists and there is a life after death. Through various scientific researches, we saw various case studies and we saw some logical explanations as well. Moving ahead, we'll just discuss the difference between living person and body or the robot in short. Now, is man not a powerful computer or robot? Now, just see when we have physical judges or the drama is being observed by judges and drama being recorded by camera. Now, our eyes can judge, whereas the lens in camera can just record things. Now, it has no experience, we have experience. It has no emotions, we have emotions. All right. It has no consciousness, we have consciousness. It basically cannot judge a performance, but we will be able to judge. That's why we have physical edges. So once a man asked a great Swamiji that Swamiji, I think our body is just a complex machine that gets worn out and crashes. Why should we bother about the soul powering the body? And Swamiji replied, does your car or computer grows? Do you have a female and male car that can unite and produce a baby car? A living body undergoes six changes. So whereas a body, a matter just depreciate or it just go on changing and finally it just mixed with from where it has came, the soil, the earth. Now it is the soul that makes the living body alive. Now there are three major differences between living body and a robot. A living body undergoes six changes. We'll see this. What are the six changes in further slides? While the matter only dwindles, or say only degrades. A male and female living body can multiply similar species. A machine can't reproduce by union. Okay. Now, living body has consciousness, thinking, feeling, willing, while matter has no consciousness. Now, what are the six changes which all of us, all the living bodies goes through? We'll try to discuss these six changes over here right now. Now, these six changes are all of us take birth, all of us grow. There is birth, there is growth, there is maintenance, there is production of byproducts, there is dwindling, and finally, there is death. So these are the six changes which occurs when a soul is there present in the body. All right. With this, we'll move to our next topic, the mechanism of mind. So we have another 15 minutes. I'll cover it in short. The soul is covered by gross body and subtle body. So as I was sharing throughout the session, there is subtle body, there is gross body, and there is soul. Now the soul is covered by, so for example, this is subtle body. Then there is outer covering, which is gross body, or this is soul, this is subtle body, and there is outer covering, a gross body, which we can see through this image. Okay, this is gross body. Okay, now gross body is made up of Pancha Mahabhut, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. When we go inside, which scientists cannot define, which is mind, intelligence, and ego. Now, when we go even more deeper, it is soul. At the end, Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, eternity, knowledge, and bliss. This is the characteristics of soul. And these are the three bodies when we go from gross level to subtle level. Okay. Now, what is the mechanism of mind? So, as we discussed yesterday, how a chariot driver holds rope in his or her hand, and then he controls the entire horse, or say entire uh, all the senses or all the horses. Similarly, the intelligence here, the main function of the intelligence is making decisions, and then how the implement intelligence carry forward the decision or implement the decision, that is done through the mind. Okay. And because the horse rider or the chariot driver controls the horses through ropes, similarly the intelligence controls all our senses through our mind. And mind is the storehouse of thought. All the thoughts, unfulfilled desires, previous experiences, everything that we go on, or say every input that our senses takes, whatever we see through our eyes, whatever we hear through our ears, whatever we smell through our nose, whatever we taste through our tongue, whatever we feel through our touch, all the inputs are being taken by our mind, and they are stored in our mind. And there are certain desires. So for example, if we eat something delicious, then we have a desire to eat the same thing again and again. So that has imprint on your mind, and that has turned into a desire which you will hanker to fulfill in the future. Now, mind carry forwards these actions through senses, and mind takes input through senses as well. So first of all, when there are bad things happening, we have to restrict more bad things from occurring by restraining our senses to go in those directions. And we have to start cleaning our mind. Whatever the mind has acquired through the senses, we have to start cleaning our mind by strengthening our intelligence. So we discussed in previous session as well, how to strengthen our intelligence is through ABCDE formula. Associate with good minded people, read books which will help you. Now we don't speak unnecessary words. Then we have a strong diet and engage your senses in some constructive things, rather than giving them in the hands of mind. So the mind is anyway all our mind is not our friend. It is anyway our enemy. It's only so better to keep our senses engaged somewhere using our intelligence. This is what we discussed yesterday. These are the five senses, the five mad horses running in all five directions like anything. There is mind, which are ropes, and there is intelligence, which is the chariot driver, which is controlling all the mad five horses using ropes. So using mind, we can control all the five senses. But for that, our intelligence needs to be strong. Now imagine the chariot driver, he is a weak fellow or a thin fellow. So how the horses will just carry forward, and the mind will pull the intelligence, and intelligence will just listen to the demands of mind. And who will suffer? We will suffer. We as a soul will suffer. This is what it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita when we see in chapter 6, verse number 6. Bandhuratma manastasya yenatmaivatmana jita anatmanastu shatrutve vartitatmaiva shatruvat. Where Krishna says, for him who has conquered the mind is the best friend. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. Now, for us, we all know we haven't conquered our mind. So, pre-assuming that mind is our greatest enemy, we should not have give our control of our body in the hands of our mind. Always use intelligence in deciding what is wrong and correct for you. Correct for you. So the people who says मेरा मन किया इसलिए मैं चला गया, so they are all under the control of mind. They don't think twice before acting. Now, this is the tendency of Rajoguna, as we discussed yesterday. Okay. Now, what is the nature of mind in a chariot? When the mind is controlled, it is our best friend, and when it is uncontrolled, it will be your greatest enemy. Okay. Now, can mind be controlled? There is a good news. Compare the mind with a knife. Now, just tell me that is knife good or bad? Can anyone just write down in the chat? Is knife considered to be good or bad? Anyone? Depends upon usage. Exactly. So as Jaswant said, in the surgeon's hand, it can save life, whereas in the hand of a miscreant, he can kill anyone with it. Okay. This is Gigo principle. So whatever we, as I said, whatever inputs we take through our senses, it occupies our mind, and uh, we have a desire to fulfill those desires. Okay, fulfill those demands of mind. For example, when we take garbage inside our mind, only garbage will go out. When we take good into our mind, only good will go out. Okay, this is the main thing you remember through the session, throughout the session. Whenever you whatever inputs you give to your mind is what you will be forced to believe in, or you forced to carry forward it. Now where do we get our scripts? The books we read, the movies we watch, the music we hear, the friends we keep, all these things matters. Try to have positive, try to engage yourself positively in all those things, all these things. Okay, there are mental dialogues. So whenever we are going for any bad habit, there are mental dialogues been happening in our mind. So the bad mind will tell you that, hey, I'm engineer, I should know how to hold a cigarette at least if I'm not smoking. Smoking makes me feel cool. But the intelligence immediately think that, hey, it's bad for your it's a bad habit and it will get ruin your health. Your parents won't like to see it. You're doing this, you may become addicted to it. Don't get into the wrong track. So these are the dialogues happening internally in your mind, between your mind and intelligence. And sometimes your mind wins, sometimes your intelligence wins. But go on strengthening your intelligence. Eventually you will have a more control over your life. With this, we are end with the mechanism of mind. Now, how this knowledge of soul will help us in our daily life, that we'll see. Okay. Firstly, it will bring universal brotherhood. Now, see, we all fight amongst each other based on the body we get. Someone are Hindu, some Hindu Muslim fights, some white and black people fight with each other, some rich people and poor people fight with each other. So this is all these fights are taking place based on what kind of body one has. But when we have a knowledge of soul, it, it basically unites us. So whether we are European, if we think ourselves as soul, whether you are Chinese, whether we are white, whether we are black, what unites us is the soul. Now, here is an example how soul consciousness can unite people. So, people from all walks of life coming together for a higher cause, knowing that we are not this superficial body, but spirit souls, like the driver is different from the car. So, there was an event hosted in West Bengal, in Mayapur, where more than people from more than 180 or 125 countries, it is came together for a spiritual meeting. So it was even recorded in uh, as a world record. Okay, and even Narendra Modi ji replied for it that I am proud of this movement. Let's let it go ahead, because this is all soul consciousness, and it will never ever have. If we are soul consciousness, we'll never ever say discriminate based on the bodily differences. One more example you can add into bodily consciousness is how people differentiate based on caste. Okay, religion, caste, all those things. This was one of the one of the thing. Now, second thing of knowing the knowledge of the soul is that it helps us to rise above the inferiority complex. Now, he's feeling inferiority complex because he's thinking that his body, or say, I am ugly, I am short, will anybody look at me? I hardly get a good rank. I have no talent in sport. I come from a very poor family. I don't know whether I will earn my degree and pass out of college. Life doesn't seem worth living because I am not like any of the great heroes. But when we are soul consciousness, we are always in gratitude towards what we have got. So all the souls are divine. There's some acquire bad qualities, some acquire good qualities. So bad qualities are washed off by following the right process. So the person with right attitude will always think, I'm not this body, but a pure soul with abundant potential. My defects are superficial, appearing in the body, but not a part of happy and healthy life. My heart is full of joy, love, serenity, compassion for others. Now, this is the difference between bodily and soul consciousness. It helps us to rise above inferiority complex. Now, it gives a positive outlook and attitude to our life. So when one sees only through bodily conception, we see that everybody is selfish. Just see how he's not cooperating with me. I feel lonely and concerned. I think I also should learn to become selfish, harsh, and arrogant to survive and grow in the life. Then I show him who am I. So this is not a gentle behavior of a person who is in the mode of sattva guna, or say who knows the knowledge of soul. Instead, the person who is having a complete knowledge of soul will have a right perspective towards life. Instead, he'll say, instead of blaming my friend for being non-cooperative, he'll say, let me learn to help him and be more kind and courteous with him. Then hopefully he will change. Unless I set a good example, what the point of demanding some from? So the person with knowledge of soul slowly and steadily develops tolerance, patience, considering everyone to be potentially good. Whereas the negative person will have no wisdom that everyone is originally a part and parcel of Supreme, but now they are all covered up. This is a basic difference between a person with a knowledge of soul and person without knowledge of soul. Okay. Now, right use of resources. This we saw how a person without knowledge of soul will just say destroy the prakriti or the material nature. So I put this many dollars in the Swiss bank account so that my son cannot touch my money. Now whether I am behind bars or moving around in car, I have no worries. It's all my money. Ha ha ha. And but this person do not know that someday or other day he will have to leave this body, and all the bodily connections, whether it is money or anything, relationships, all he or she has to leave behind and forcefully leave the body and go away in some other body. But the person who is in full consciousness of soul will think, look at the cow, they are suffering without food, let me arrange some grass for them, grass for her. Every living being is like my brother and sister. Every creature deserves to live. If I can preach to a few rich men of my country, I will teach them the culture of sharing all the resources of supreme intelligence amongst his creature. Then there will be no poverty in our country, right? So this is what a higher consciousness help us to help others as well and help ourselves as well. With this, I am only left with 1 minute. We'll just summarize, or you just take a screenshot. We'll discuss or we summarize in the next session. We'll have a Q&A session. Maybe what is today? Today is Thursday, right? Maybe on Sunday we'll have a Q&A session. You just note down your questions, okay? So this was it for today, guys. You can take a screenshot of this. Initially, we discussed whether we are spirit or we are matter. Then we discussed the scientific proof for existence of the spirit soul. We saw the case studies of near-death experiences, and we saw the reincarnation case studies of the boy who died in World War One. And we saw about the Shukla's case study. We saw the difference between living person and robot. We saw the mechanism of mind, how the mind works, and how the intelligence plays an important role in controlling the mind. Then at last we saw the practical benefits of the knowledge of soul and how it helps us to move away from negative mindset and come towards positive mindset and healthy mindset here. Okay, thank you guys for joining. I have a Bhagavad Gita reading now. We'll end it here. Thank you.